All right, so today's going to be a little bit different. Our spot checks are not going to be from the notes because what I want to do is give you some idea of what the homework is going to look like. Spot check will look more like what the homework will be. Okay. All right. So yesterday we did absolute value equations. Now again, when we have absolute value equations, we are going to separate into two parts. Okay. Today we're going to do absolute value inequalities, and we still will separate into two parts. But absolute value inequalities have two different options based on what symbol they have at the very beginning. Okay. So we can have an absolute value and equation, or we can have an absolute value or equation, and inequality or inequality. It just depends on what symbol we have to begin with. So before we even get into that, we are going to talk about the two different types of compound inequalities that you are going to come across. The first one, okay, is what's called an and inequality. Okay, or an and compound inequality. It can be written two different ways. Okay, so this is why I want to show you, because the ones in the notes are not coming exactly as what's on the spot check. All right, so with and inequalities, we are going to, if it's not already separated with an and, we are going to separate it with an and. Okay, so I'm going to add a question on your notes. Okay, and then we're going to do a spot check that's very similar to that. We are also going to do interval notation. Okay, we're also going to do interval notation. Okay, so interval notation, by the way, so here we have, we'll go ahead and write this here. So here, if we have a number that is greater than or equal to -3 and less than 2, basically based on this graph, -3 and 2, my interval notation is going to look like this. Bracket around -3, parentheses around 2. Now, if you remember interval notation that we had before, we had infinity, didn't we? Okay, why don't we have infinity for this graph? Yeah, because we have two numbers this time, and my graph is only shading in between those two numbers. So on every single one of these today, on every single one of these, we are going to have two answers, and my graph is going to shade in between them. My lowest number should always go first. My biggest number, so this is my smallest number. My biggest. Okay, so always go in that order. Why is there a bracket around -3, and a parentheses around 2? Anybody remember what the bracket means? Yeah, so this means equal. Okay, that means not equal. Okay, so brackets means equal. So if it's a closed dot or if it's equal, we put a bracket around that number. If it's an open dot or it's not equal, we put a parentheses around that number. We are not going to do set builder notation at all. Yes.
Can there be two numbers and an arrow pointing to whichever direction?
There will not be an arrow on any of these because it'll just be shading in between.
Oh, with number one, sorry, this problem.
Mm-hmm.
We got -3, -2. Can like -3 have an arrow pointing that way, -2 or 2 having an arrow pointing that way, but
So are you saying if I had -3, this, x, that?
yeah.
Not possible. It'll always be those two symbols, because here, what this says is x here is greater than -3, but less than -2, or less than 2. Okay, these are always going to use less than symbols at the end. You do not have to worry about that though at all. You do not have to write it like this. Okay, You do not have to write like that. We are going to use interval notation. Okay. So, yeah, we're gonna look at the spot check, and that is going to give you an idea of how our answers should be put in the homework. All right, so let's look at this. All right, so this is one type of question. Okay, we're going to solve this. We're going to put in interval notation. Sorry, how about we solve it, then graph it, and then after the graph, put in interval notation. I think if we see the graph, we'll have an easier time with interval notation. Okay, so we're going to solve these separately because they're already separated for us. Okay, so for the first one, divide by 2. So divide by 2. I'm having fun today. It gives you x is greater than -3. Now for this one, when we divide by -1, what's going to happen to my sign? It's going to flip. Say x is less than 4. So we are between, x is between -3 and 4. All right. Equal to -3, close dot at -3. Not equal to 4, open dot 4.
And there's time for it between.
That's what we had, -3 less that would be that sign. So there's no real sign for between other than that. You do not have to write that, just saying. Let me leave it on there just in case, though. -3 less equal to x and 4. All right, just in case. I haven't done the spot check, so we're going to kind of learn this together. All right. Now, graphically, we don't have to put all the numbers. We just put -3 and 4. So we know we already have a closed dot at -3 and an open dot at 4. And we're just going to shade in between. You can scribble in between if you want. I don't care how you do that. The homework is, you know how the homework goes. Okay. Now, interval notation for this. That interval notation. Interval notation. All right, we have -3, 4. We have that. That should not be an issue. The question is, what do I put around -3 and what do I put around 4? -3 is a bracket. That is correct because again, this is equal to, this is not equal to. This is closed dot, this is open dot. They're both equal to, brackets around both. If they're both not equal to, parentheses around both. So really you just treat them individually. Okay. So we have, yeah, you just look at them each individually. So what I want to do is I want to give you, we'll do one more of these, and then we're going to do a practice question. So don't take up a ton of room for this question, because I want to do another practice question, like a different practice question. So here I am going to divide by -3, divide by -3, and give you x. Again, when I divide by negative, I'm going to flip this. So that is greater than 4. Right. Subtract 4, x is less than or equal to 8. So again, which one's my smallest number?
4.
4. I'm going to use this symbol and put x between and use that symbol. 8. Always use less than or less than or equal to. So when you set this together, we always use less than or less than or equal to. We do not use greater than. Just how do you know which one to use? It just depends on which, if it's equal to or not. All right. So that interval or the graph went like this. Less than or equal to, sorry. It is kind of hard to read because I wrote so very tiny and not well. So less than or equal. So always use less than or equal. So we have 4 and we have 8. It is open at 4, it is closed at 8, and it is in between. So again, I don't care if you shade or just draw a bar. On the homework should be different. So that interval notation would be, again, 4 and 8. This time we have a parentheses, because it's open around 4, and a bracket around 8. Again, this is open, this is closed. This is not equal, this is equal. All right, so I want to give you a different type of question here. So we're going to mark this off here. We'll give you this question that we have. Let's say 5 is less than 2x plus 1, which is less than 11. So this is another way of writing an and inequality. If you see this, what we're going to do is we are going to do everything to all 3 sides. My goal is to get x by itself. Okay? What do I have to get rid of first to get x by itself? I have to get rid of the 1 first. Always get rid of the constant first. Now, if I have parentheses, I do need to distribute. If I have a fraction, I do need to multiply everything. Okay? But if I don't have a fraction or parentheses, it's just x and a constant. Get rid of the constant first. So how do I get rid of a plus 1? All right? If I minus 1 to the middle, I have to do it to all sides. So whatever you do, to get x by itself, you do to all 3 parts. So we have the middle part, we have the left part, and the right part. So 5 minus 1 is 4. 2x, the 1's now gone. And 10 minus 1 is, or sorry, 11 minus 1 is 10. So now I need to do what? Divide by 2. If I divide the middle by 2, I have to divide the left and the right by 2. So 2 less than x less than 5. Now, none of these are equal. So that means I'm going to have open circles at 2 and at 5, shading in between. All right, and my interval notation would be 2, 5. Not equal to. Again, both open circles, both not equal to. All right, so let's look at our first spot check here. I know you're not going to have a ton of room for this, so what I'm going to do, pass these up. Unless you want to write them bigger, you can write on these. That's not smart. They want erasers. Yeah. So this is going to have several parts to it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So this is going to be several parts to it. Now, we are only going to be doing and. So let me screen write this a bit. We can ignore the or stuff. Okay, so all this right here, you can kind of just ignore. So that should be how our answer is put in, just like we have been doing. Okay. Now, I'll give you a moment to try this, and then we're going to go over it together. Just for input 1. If you want to put input 2, you can go right ahead. If you want to go ahead and solve in graphic, go right ahead. But just for input 1, that's all I'm going to look at right now. Because this shouldn't be too hard. All right. The reminder is, what I do to get x by itself, I have to do both to the left and the right. So what do I have to do to get x by itself? Right. So for this, I have to subtract everything by what? By 4. That's it.
One. Oh, we building nothing off.
Yeah. And yeah. So when you subtract everything by 4, again, that cancels out there. You have to do it to both sides. So what's 4 minus 4? So we'll have 0 less than x less than or equal to, because there's less or equal to. Now, when you type that in, how do you type less than or equal to? Less than or equal to. And then 10 minus 4 is 6. And that's it. Everyone should get that right. Well, it looks like you can drag this over. So we have what, 0 and 6. And it's equal to 6, right? Oh, yeah. When is well, it's not equal to. So which one's going to be open? Yeah. Which one's it closed? 6. And the interval notation, because we do know we have the graph already, we're going to have a parentheses around which number? 0. So for the interval notation, we have a parentheses around 0. And a bracket around 6. 0, comma 6, parentheses first, bracket at the end. That bracket, by the way, is on, you can type a bracket. Just type. Yeah. So the bracket is like right beside your enter button, right above your enter button. It is. Yeah. You know which one. Alright. So let's see how we're doing. Some entries. So highlight. Yeah. So let's see. I think so yeah, here just forgot the equal sign. Okay. Which means here probably can't look at the question, which is cool. Yeah, I'm guessing just forgot the close the dot. Now you have to be careful because I don't know. Okay, no, that's fine. Just forgot to close the I can't tell. Wish I'd been able to see the whole thing. But yeah. And then here just have the bracket princess factors. All right, so do we see how the homework's going to go?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much going to be the homework questions. Let's see the next one. All right, so this one's a little harder. Boy, that's it. And this was so it is -2. It is -2. So I see just a couple people forgot the negative there, or dropped the negative. Less than or equal to x less than equal to 5. All right. I think here just had an x here. Accidentally add an x. Make sure you watch out for that. All right. I don't, you can't see the point, okay? But it should be it should look like this at -2 and then what, 5? Okay, where -2 is closed and 5 is open. That's what it should look like. And, yeah, why is that? Wait, click on, you click on 40. That's weird. It's correct. The integral position is backwards. Because it should be bracket around -2 and parentheses around 5. I don't know why the bracket messed up on. Okay, because that looked correct. Well, so, yeah, and the integral notation should be parentheses a bracket around -2, parentheses around 5. So again, I see if you put like these two, put +2, then I can see where the issue comes up here as well. Again, like bracket around 5, bracket around -2. I can see where a couple of issues happen. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to the notes. I'm not going to worry about doing this next question here. There's really no point. We're going to move on to the absolute value. So we talked about absolute value here. Yesterday we said x could equal +3 and x could equal -3. Now, if this is less than, it's going to be x is less than 3 and x is greater than -3. So what happened here? The sign flips. So, yep. So we still, again, on every single one of these, we're going to have two answers. We're going to have a positive and a negative, but always, for both of these, okay, flip the inequality symbol with negative solution. For those who can't read that, because honestly, my handwriting, it just shouldn't be allowed. Okay, so always flip the inequality when we bring out the negative. When we're done, we're all set. So always flip the inequality symbol with the negative solution. So anytime I have a positive, I keep the inequality. So for this one, we're going to keep that greater than 3. That's going to stay the same. Okay. Because this is greater than, though, this is going to be an or, not an and. Okay. And then we're going to flip that to less than. So right here and here, we flipped. Anytime we have that negative, we have to flip. So what may help, give you a second to write it down, so move too quick. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to take the number, okay, and it's negative. We take the number and it's negative, and we're going to drop the absolute value. Now, that's exactly what we've been doing. Now, the reason we can do that, this only works for less than or less than 2. Tomorrow, we're going to do greater than, and for greater than, we're just going to make 2 separate equations. Okay? But if it's less than, we could do this. Now, what do I do to solve? Subtract 5, subtract 5 on all 3 sides. Negative 13 less than p less than 8. The really nice thing about these is that they will either both be open or both be closed. Right. Where is it? Why is it? Where did he? Yeah, it would be 3 because I'm not paying attention. So, they're either going to both be open or both be closed. So in this case, negative 13 and 3, they're both what? Both open and still going to shade in between. My interval notation, both parentheses. So they're either going to both be open or both be closed. They're either going to be both parentheses or both brackets. That's the only really nice thing about the absolute value stuff, is because your points would be both the same and your brackets are pretty much the same. Yes. Now, before we can even do that, before we can even separate though, we do need to isolate the absolute value first. So yeah, this is the hard stuff. We are going to have 6. Isolate first. We still don't have it isolated. So what I'm going to do is to, since this is multiplication, how do you get rid of multiplication? 5. Now that we have it isolated, we can do that little trick. We have negative 7, positive 7. And since we don't have, we do have equal to, right? So 2. That's equal to, negative 7, positive 7. So we drop the absolute value, we just drop negative 7 plus 7x. So it is. There's our studies like that. Yeah. So, what do we get rid of first? Yeah, get rid of negative 7 here, so I'm going to subtract. I'm going to add 7, get rid of negative. That's going to give me a 0. That's equal to 7x. That's equal to 14. The only thing left to do is to divide by 7. Now, 0 divided by anything is still 0. But 4 divided by 7 is 2. Now, in this case, because they're both equal to, they're both what? Closed. And my interval notation would be bracket 0, bracket 1, 2. I do have one more thing I want to get to. It's real short, real easy. Make sure you have enough time to write that down. So 5 minutes left. One last thing I want to get to is this right here. This says the absolute value of whatever's in here is less than -4. Let's think about that. Absolute value, whatever comes out of the absolute value is always what? So is a positive number ever less than a negative number? Not possible. So therefore, no solution. You can use the symbol there if you want. Now notice this does say greater than. Have we dealt with greater than yet? But what happens when I divide by -2? It flips. Not only does it flip, it becomes -5. Okay, we can't do negative. No solution. So when you do isolate, because we always have to isolate first. If we ever get absolute value is less than a negative, if we ever get just a negative over there, we're going to have some special solutions. So if it's ever less than negative, it's no solution. When is an absolute value greater than a negative? Always. Absolute value is always greater than negative. So that will be tomorrow when we do greater than or destroy. All right, so real quick, I just want to show you what your homework is going to look like. What do we do with the right one? Just stack them on the end of that button. Yeah, stack them at the end of that button. All right, so let's look at the main open it where it did. So it's going to start out real nice. Just have the values, less equal to 4. Okay, you're going to put it separate your dust. No more worries. Very low, we didn't get to that. That's good.
Cool. You're gonna link that your email, you're gonna see an email with a video. Each one should run during nighttime.
They went
Today.
so it might be that kilogram. Notation. If you read it.
Yes.
Just one. So only one of these, only this one was it. Like, really? Actually, let me. I think I'm going to change this. I'm going to put some more of the what we did at the very beginning on there. You too.
Alexa, that was exactly for all defendants. Thank you.
Thanks. See ya. And that one. And that one. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go to. That's a lot. Stop here. Start that. Y'all. Yeah. Okay. Brianna. All right. Kind of. You can go. Here? Yeah. Oh, okay.